Welcome to Kharis tutorials. I'm Simeon Grace. I'll be making my dress in this tutorial, and the plain material is a Duchess 2 years, while the Ankara is 1 year of Ghana print. We'll be needing our basic measurements, which are the under bust, half length, and the full length of the dress. We'll be needing the shoulder measurement, the sleeve, the round sleeve, bust circumference, under bust circumference, the waist circumference, and the hip circumference measurements. If you're yet to subscribe to the channel, kindly do that. Also click the bell to get notified each time I upload a new video. Let's move to the cutting table. Welcome back. The first thing I'm going to be cutting is the base of the front. The back is going to remain the same, just our normal bodice with our zipper allowance. I'm going to be to concentrate on the front cutting. And here is the base. I'm working with the length of half length 15 inches, the full length is 40, the under bust circumference is 28, the waist is 30, and the hip is 36 inches. Now this measurement divided by 4, and I'm going to add extra 2 inches for allowance, same as my measurement plus 8 inches divided by 4. So this is my 15 inches, which is the half length, so it's going to be minus 15. The full length, like I said, is 40. Here I have 42. I'm going to be starting with the under bust circumference, since that is where it's going to end on the half length. So here is my under bust circumference measurement. After my calculation, I have 9 inches. The waist measurement 9.5, the hip measurement 11 inches. Then at the base here, I subtracted 1 inch so that I have 10 inches. That's the hip measurement minus 1 inch, and I have 10 inches. I'm going to connect these points straight down, and I am going to cut. Now from the style, we are going to note some points. First, I am going to note from the base 4 inches for the darts. Here is my 4 inches. And on the waist here, I am going to still maintain my 15 inches. And the length here that I'm going to measure is 23 inches, so that my Ankara fabric is going to start from this point. Now I'm going to be connecting from here to my 4 inches for that. So on this point, I can come in as much as I want. If you want to maintain 4 or 5 or 6 or thereabouts, you can just go with any measurement. So since what I have here is 4 inches, you have to make sure that what you're going to have here will be more than that 4 inches. It could be 6 inches, all right? So something like this, all right? So that when I'm coming in, it comes like this to wherever point you want, and it goes down to the dart measurement. So it's not going to be a sharp edge here, just like this. Good. The next thing I'm going to pay attention to is going to be on the other side here, and you can decide to either cut it out or just place another fabric on it. So I am going to measure my 15 inches. My 15 inches is still here. Here I use the length of 23, so I'll just be going with the length of 21 inches on this side. 21 inches, and to this point now is going to align with the half length measurements. That's the overlap on the half length, so that I can come this way. So it's your choice, just in case you want to cut it out. You can cut it out and replace, but for me, I am not going to cut it out. I'm only going to cut out this part of my dress. So I'll be cutting behind the line. And then I'll connect to the normal measurements that I have. Now for this part of a pattern, it's going to be the Ankara fabric. So all you just need to do is place your pattern on the Ankara fabric to cut, which I have done just like this. And for this part, I added extra 2 inches. Added extra 2 inches allowance so that by the time I'm going to place this, it will not reduce the measurements that I need. So the 2 inches is to the side, not to the length. We've added to the length already. So what I have, the 2 inches, is just by the side of my pattern. So I am going to be placing this on this, just like this. Alright, so from here now we're going to move to the half lengths. To work with the half lengths, the measurement is 15 inches, which is the length, and I have the bust of 34 inches. So 34 inches divided by 4 plus 2 will give us 10.5 inches, same as 34 inches plus 8 then divided by 4, we still get 10.5 inches. Now because it's a bustier blouse, I need to add extra 2 inches to that. So instead of folding 10.5, I'll be folding 12.5 inches. Now it is also an overlap dress, that's the half length. So here is my 12.5 inches. Because it's an overlap dress, I need to add extra 5 inches, and that makes it 17.5 inches. So what I'll be folding now is 17.5 inches. I'm going to hide all the 7 inches. You know, we've added extra 7 inches now. Initial measurement was 10.5 inches. That's the bust circumference divided by 4 plus 2, or bust circumference plus 8 divided by 4. That's 10.5 inches. We added extra 2 inches because it's a bustier blouse, and we added extra 5 inches because it's an overlap blouse to give us 17.5. So after folding the 17.5, I am still going to hide all the extra 7 inches that we added first so that I can bring out my shape. So here is 17.5, and the length that I'm working with is 15 inches. So here I have 15.5 inches. Okay, let me make it 16 inches length. That means I've added extra 1 inch to the length because I'll be joining on the shoulder, and I'll also be joining the base. Now I am going to, like I said, fold the 7 inches first. Having done that, what I'm going to be doing is to bring out my basic measurements, whereby I have the shoulder measurements divided by 2, which is 7 inches, to bring down the armhole of 8.5 inches. And then I have the bust circumference measurement divided by 4 plus 2. The under bust length is 12 inches. And I have my under bust circumference measurement divided by 4 plus 2. Your circumference measurement same as your measurement plus 8 divided by 4, or your circumference measurement divided by 4 plus 2. You still get the same answer. So you can go with the simplest form. So I'm going to connect this to get my armhole. So here is 1 inch, and I need to get the midpoint, which is 4.25, so that I can come in by 0.25. And then I'm going to connect like this. And then from the bust to the under bust circumference measurements, and then to the base of the half length. So let's cut this first before we move on. after cutting out the dress, the basic bodice, what we need to do now is to unfold the 2 inches for Princess That Bustier, while I still hide my 5 inches for overlap. So I have unfolded the 2 inches, and the next thing I'm going to do, remember we have our under bust here and we have the half length. So I'll be taking my Princess That measurements of 4 inches. So here's my 4 inches. Here's my 4 inches. We need to get the under bust measurement to the nipple point. So here is the nipple point, here is the under bust, and here is the half length. All right. Now on the armhole, I'm going to measure 3.5. If you like, you can go with 4. You can go with 3 inches. Because it's a Princess That's Bustier now, and I'm going to take 1 inch here. That means you can either increase your armhole length to 9.5 inches, or after joining the dress, you remember to come down by 1 inch on the armhole. Alright, so going with that 3.5 inches, I am going to still connect to meet my 4 inches here to to draft out my Princess That, just like this. Good. So from here now, I am going to measure 1.5. I have different tutorials on how to cut Princess That Bustier. I have the off shoulder and the one with shoulder, just in case you need to get more understanding on how to cut Princess That Bustier. Now this is going to stop at the under bust, and here I am going to take 0.5, while on the armhole I'm going to take 1 inch. I'm going to connect from here to the nipple points like this. Then from the nipple point to the under bust, just like this. So I'm going to cut out this line. Let's do that. While I notch this middle, this is where our overlap will meet. Next, I'm going to measure the neck width, and I'm working with 3 inches as the width, and I'm working with the depth of 4 inches. It's going to be a V shape like this. If you still want it to come down as low as 5 or 6 inches, you can go on with that. Remember to slant with 1 inch on the shoulder. Now before I cut the neck, I'm going to unfold my 5 inches so that I'll be able to connect from the base to this point. That's the neck depth, but I'm going to give it a kind of design here. So I have about 2 inches or 2.5 inches first. Then I'm going to slant from those points, just like this. So if I'm going to be cutting now, to go like this, then straight down. And at this point, it's just a design of my own choice. If you want to do that, you can do that. If you don't want, you can just cut from this base to this point. So I'm coming in by 1 inch, and it's just a curve, just like a curve shape. It's just a kind of a design. Like I said, you can slant it to the base. You can still go up if you want. To cut our fabric now, I am going to use this to cut the Ankara fabric, while this is going to be the plain fabric. Also, one of this, which is this, is going to be the Ankara fabric, while this will be the plain fabric. So I have here the plain. Now, to cut my fabric, this part, this side is going to be the Ankara fabric, while this is going to be the plain fabric. Also, this is going to be the Ankara fabric, while this will be the plain fabric. So I'll just place my pattern on the fabric to cut it out. Now, this is what we have on the half length, and I'm placing this. This is the middle, and here is the middle for the pattern as well. So I'm placing it, like I said, it has to align. So I'm going to measure it out like that. I'm going to trace it out on the pattern. I will not be cutting it out on the main fabric. We already cut the fabric for this. So I just want to trace out this part on this pattern, so it will be easier for me to place on my plain material and trace it out. So I'm cutting behind the line to connect back to the real measurements here. So I'll place this to cut out this plain fabric. Right, so this is what we are going to have at the end of our joining. To cut out the collar on this part, all I just need to do is trace out, placing out my fabric on this. Okay, let me concentrate more on this. So to take out the measurements, you can just go with the measurement of 3 inches. 3 inches like that, and then you reduce the measurements until you get to this edge. And you can also go with the measurement of your choice in case you want a wider collar. You can just go on and cut that. So it's going to come like this. I'll be needing 2 of this, so I'll be placing my plain on my pattern on the plain fabric to cut. Just 2 of this. Now the half length is what we're going to be starting with. I'm going to iron my stay. I'll be working with stay. So I'm going to iron my stay on each of the fabric, then I'll join. I'll do that on this 4, and I'll also cut out my lining for each piece. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to cut out my lining for each piece as well. So this collar, I'll be cutting out 2 of this fabric. So I'm going to do that now. So what I'm going to do first now is to join this base. After that, I am going to turn it like this and place on my plain fabric just like this. After that, I'm going to be turning the neck with the lining on this part. Like I said, I'll be joining this princess dart. So I'm going to join the fabric separately. I'm also going to join the lining separately. So let's do that first. Now, this is what we have after joining. Here is my collar. I've turned in with the lining. I also turn this with the lining, and make sure the notched part aligns just like this. Here is the half length. You'll discover there will be excess here on the armhole. We already added extra 2 inches while cutting, so it will be easy for me to just trim it out. The same thing on the other side. Now, to focus on the base, I am going to turn this just like this. Remember, I told us that I would not be cutting it out on my fabric. So I'm just going to run a sewing on the fabric just like this, making sure this edge aligns, and then I'll join like this. So I'm going to join this. Also, here at the base, I'm going to turn this with lining, but first, because I want the slits on this part of my dress, so I'm going to come in by 2 inches. Here is my 2 inches. It's going to be a slant shape, all right? So you can have the length to wherever you want it to stop. I'll be working with the length of 9 inches here. Remember, we added extra allowance, so by the time I fold, it's going to give me about 7 inches. So for that reason, I'm going to slant from those 2 inches to this edge, just like this. Having done that, I'm going to turn, like I said, I'll be turning it with my lining, just like this. I am also going to turn this with my lining, and afterwards I will run my sewing on it like this, so that it's going to stop here and I will have my opening here at the base. After that, I'm going to join the back. I already have the back bodice. Like I told us, the back remains the same with our zipper allowance. So I already have the back. What I'll be doing is just to place the back, and I'll join the shoulder. Okay, so I'm going to go on and fix that now, then I'll come back to show us the final result. After joining the shoulder, you can go on to attach any sleeve of your choice. So I'll be cutting out a basic sleeve for mine. I am also going to bring out the shape according to my body measurements. That's the bust, under bust circumference, the waist, and the hip. Don't forget to click the subscribe button if you're yet to do so. I'm sure you'll find this tutorial interesting. You can like and also share so others too can learn. You can as well leave your styles. In case you have a style you want me to upload, you can do that in the comment section. Leave your comments, leave your questions there in the comment section, and I'll be there to answer you. We are still moving on. Well, here's the final result of our dress, and it looks so gorgeous. I'm sure you would like to make yours. Now you can go ahead. Like I told us, I'm going to add my basic sleeve, and that is going to be the end of our tutorial. So come on now, make yours, and let me see. Till I see you next class. I love you all. Mwah.